Well, what a disastrous night. So I'm flying solo and I just I just hit the finish button. This is a disaster. Hold on. At followers. I just hit the end show button accidentally and killed the show accidentally. This is crazy.
Well, I see one live viewer still hanging in there. Maybe that's me. Or there's more coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few. Let me see if I can get everybody over here. Let me comment in here. Hold on. Dang it. That was what a disaster. I actually that's what happens when I hit the wrong dadgum button. I'm trying to multitask here. Let's see. Let me comment.
Well, see, we're out of practice, and combined with being amateurs and being out of practice. I mean, heck, I even forgot it was Tuesday.
Hey, see you this Tuesday, next Tuesday. See you a little every Tuesday.
I mean, good grief.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
ding sounded like somebody.
Let me put a comment here, and let me do this over on YouTube too, so that everybody can find us. Dadgummit, I can't believe that. That is the first time in 250 some odd shows, 260 some odd shows that I've done that. All right,
Ah,
let's
well,
see.
hey, it happens.
Look, I guess
Hello,
we're back up
Heather
to
Turner.
19 or 20 people. I guess people are finding us. Y'all tag everybody and let them know that I hit the wrong button and killed the show and then had to restart the show. It's complete amateur status. Let me see if I can get us
Well, that's okay.
and
You're achieving better than me.
I,
That's what I'll say.
look, I got to admit my mind has been focused on fishing. See our cute little show graphic that I made is now not no good. What an ordeal. Well, let's see if
Oh,
anybody is. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let me add a comment to the
that's
other
all right.
show.
So everybody's sitting here like, what are these stupid guys babbling about? Why am I here? What the hell? Why would I spend brain cells listening to them jabber about all of this? Well, the truth of the matter is because you never know what the hell we're going to say. I mean,
Well,
it could be anything, especially.
well, look, we
I'm being
joke about
courteous. Go ahead.
this. Well, we joke about this every Tuesday that we're on, but we really mean it tonight. We are absolutely flying by the seat of our pants. We have no notes put together. We have the city council meeting I do have kind of ready to review. And I was just about to make fun of Seabiscuit. That's where I was when I accidentally hit the end show button. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, did you see his ad? By he's Big Bozier Parish guy. Did you see that?
well, I was just teeing up the fact that he is now officially, and this is just irony at its best, he is
I
now
saw it, but
officially a billboard lawyer. Did you know that?
oh, he's a billboard. He's a
He,
billboard lawyer.
yeah, he's a
I
billboard
didn't think he
lawyer.
did that.
Well, I didn't think he did either, but hold on just a second because we have proof. Let me see if I can click a few buttons and not in the show this time. Let's do that.
I thought that was only for the dirtbag lawyers, but
Look, that looks like a billboard to me, and that looks like Seaball. I mean, looks like he's a billboard lawyer to me. And
I see
by the way,
billboard and
well, I
well, wait a minute. What is
I just don't know
what
what
does
to
that
say.
mean? Big insurance loves sell out Seaball. I don't.
Well, see, this is where
What am I missing here?
it's so confusing, and I've kind of alluded to this in some of the Bossier Watch posts, but we really, truly have the foxes guarding the hen house. Both foxes, the gray foxes and the red foxes, guarding the hen house. So we have trial lawyers in Baton Rouge lobbying as well as literally there. We have insurance lawyers like Seaball. He's literally an insurance lawyer. for the insurance industry, for State Farm, I think. We have insurance agents who have now infiltrated basically all of Baton Rouge. And in the end, all us folks out here paying these ridiculous, my premiums on my vehicle insurance went up again. I have no claims. Went up again. I have had an insurance policy with State Farm since I started driving at the age of 15 under my parents' policy. Then later, when I became an adult, I've had State Farm the entire time. I am literally, for the first time ever, shopping around insurance rates because they keep going up for no reason. I mean, just no, and I'm not talking about going up $5 or $10. They're going up a lot more than that.
Well, I can give you a reason, because we've got, neighbors. I'm going to get on my soapbox here. Neighbors who are dirtbags. They want to act like they're the church going perfect people and no BS problems. But right now, one of my kids is being sued because stupid.
Yeah.
They're milking the system. They want a paycheck. Bottom line, they want a paycheck, and it's one of the big top billboard lawyers. That's who they with, but yet they are these holy roly people. But yet they're sitting here among us, and our neighbors. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say their names, but I'm going to say our neighbors, and they're feeding off of the insurance companies, and that is what causes yours and everybody watching the show, all of our insurance to go up. When
well,
literally, I've got video of the freaking guy that was in this car wreck driving around the car that was in the car wreck with no damage, and yet he's damaged for life, needs medical care for life. Just a bunch of freaking BS. And it's also these billboard lawyers can freaking advertise that they'll get you billions, make them pay.
Well, and
don't
look,
even get me started.
I am not disagreeing with you at all. The only place you and I differ is you lean on the billboard lawyer side, and I don't disagree with you. I lean more towards the big insurance side and, lawyers like Seaball defending the insurance companies and the insurance agents. And I think you'll probably agree with me on this, it's both sides of the equation that are screwed up. The billboard lawyers are absolutely at fault, and the insurance companies themselves are just raking in the dollars. And meanwhile, we're stuck legally having to pay. This is like not optional. This isn't something, I don't have to have this. We're required by law to have this, forced to have it, and yet we're having to fund. Look, I hate to say it because we're both big Landry fans, but we're paying for the hunting trips and the fishing trips and all that, plus the billboards, plus the insurance industry executives and their lawyers like Seaball. So I'm putting the blame on everybody. I am still, week after week after week, I am still disgusted.
Well, just hang on a minute before you go throwing Landry out there, because I'm gonna have to give you a little news flash here. The shiny gold on Landry ain't shining so much for me right now. It's a little tarnished, and but
do tell.
I got to tell you a story. I got to tell you a story. So you remember back in these days? You remember back when I ran for House District 8, right, for the legislature. Had all these grandiose ideas. I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna change the state, right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so you have to go and volunteer for campaigns and do things, and I did that. I was down south, and I was volunteering with this group called the Homeschool Kids. Their family didn't want to put them in public school. They didn't like the fact that you didn't have religious base or church base or whatever. They didn't like the way public school was, so they homeschooled their kids.
Right.
And these kids were these kids were sharp as a tack, and they were real heavy faith based, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're driving down the interstate, and I'm going and I'm walking and door knocking with this. It's a team of kids that would go all over to different campaigns across the state to support pro, life, pro conservative, limited government candidates, right? And so we're driving
Right.
down the interstate, and we see these billboards. And there's this billboard of Larry Flint's Hustler Club. And
Oh.
one of the kids says to me, they said, "Do you think they should be able to advertise that?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you think it's right that they're able to advertise, on those billboards and do that?" And I was like, "Well, I've never really thought about it." You know, I said, I guess probably they. I mean, what reason do they not have to advertise? I mean, what law are they breaking, or what would say that they couldn't do that? And they said, "I'm glad to hear you say that." And I was shocked. I was like,
Mhm.
"Are you kidding me?" And they said, "Well, because while, we don't subscribe to that and we don't believe in that and we don't think that that's appropriate, it's still not right for us, to limit anybody from doing and seeking what they want to do. It's in each
Fair point.
individual person's heart as to what they do." So I tell you that story to say about these billboards lawyers. I mean, they're just going to advertise on Facebook. If you shut them down on the billboards, they're just going to flip over and you're going to start seeing endless, make them pay or the Cat in the Hat or whatever on Facebook endlessly. At least you can block them there. But I mean, s- it's not. They're just doing a job. They're promoting it, yes. Is it having an effect? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's whether or not you and I and our neighbors are going to, and I keep saying it, and I'm going to continue to keep saying it, if you're going to keep feeding on your neighbors like a leech and causing all of us to suffer. If you're hurt, that's one thing. But if you're not hurt and you're filing claims and filing lawsuits, you are the lowest denominator of our society. That's what you are.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I have no respect for the people that are feeding off the insurance, causing all of our insurance to go up. None. Zero. Not. I have less respect for them than I do the lawyers, okay, that are
Look,
doing it.
we are 100% in agreement on all that. It's kind of like we encourage people, even if you're left leaning or liberal or a Democrat or whatever. Hey, go fire away in the comments. Have at it, because we don't want to discourage somebody else's, even though it's not technically right, because this is a private show on a private platform. But we still feel that folks have the general right within the context of our show to say what you want, as long as it's not obvious trolling. And I agree with you along those same lines about the billboard lawyers. Look, I'll share a little story with you. I don't think I shared this before, but I don't know, it's 10, 15 years ago. Gina and I went to the state fair. I rarely go to the state fair in Shreveport anymore, but she wanted to go one year. We did. Anyway, uh, she was getting off like, I don't know, it was the Tilt-A-Whirl or whatever the ride was. I forget. But anyway, and the railing was loose on the ride as she was coming down, and the railing like pushed over, literally causing her to fall. And I forgot, I think she like twisted her ankle, didn't break anything, but had to go have it x-ray, blah blah blah, and all that. Completely the fair's fault. All we wanted the fair to do was reimburse us for the, hospital visit, blah, 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 and all that. We had to fight with the insurance company just for that. So instead of costing the fair, I don't know, $500, $1,000 or whatever it was, we had to get a lawyer. And by the time it was done, it was like $12,000 or $15,000, because the lawyer had to get involved, because the insurance company didn't want to pay up, and there were plenty of witnesses there. Like, there was no doubt that this railing was faulty. She went to lean on it again. I forget the exact scenario. It failed. She fell over, slipped or whatever it was. That's just a simple example of what this whole system is about. The insurance companies don't want to pay up, then have to get the lawyers involved, or the billboard lawyers. The insurance companies then go ahead, they don't want to go to trial, So they go ahead and write the check. And then you have a certain percentage of the population. I would argue it's a small percentage, but a certain percentage where they see these billboards and think, oh, I can make a living off of suing folks that have a minor fender bender because, my rest of my life is completely damaged. And I don't know. I hate to keep rambling on it,
Look,
but this is ridiculous.
let me give you another real life story. So when I was a paramedic driving a trauma unit in Bossier City, so all of right there where the old Burger King was, the Benton Road overpass on getting off I-20 onto Benton Road,
Right.
and you come down the big steep hill and you hit the bottom. It's like the launching ramp. It's kind of what we call it. And there's Burger King right there on the corner, right?
Right.
So I'm coming along in the trauma unit, and I'm driving the trauma unit, and I'm the paramedic, and we're en route to an EMS call somewhere past that intersection. So I'm coming up on that intersection, and I just through experience, I know that that's a dangerous intersection, right? So I pull up to the intersection. I've got light sirens going, and I look up the hill, at the launching ramp, and I can see this truck coming down the hill, and he's flying, and I can tell there's no way he is going to be able to stop. So he's not in control. I'm in control. So I turn my siren off and I stop before entering the intersection. And when he finally realizes, oh, there's this big freaking red ambulance sitting there at the intersection, he locks up his brakes. And when you're coming down that hill, it's got a little bit of the concrete's not level, and it bounces a little. He locked his tires up, the back tires locked up, it turned sideways, and the truck rolls over through the intersection.
Ooh, lovely.
Rolls over right in front of me, right? Now I'm already going to an EMS call, somebody having a heart attack or something, right? And so I thought, I was like, oh crap, I'm fixing to be in internal affairs here. This is all my fault. I see the writing on the wall. I know how this goes. I pick up the radio and I said, I'm not going to say the number, trauma unit to headquarters. Right. I said, there has been an accident in front of me. Do you want me to stop at this accident or proceed to my original call?
Right.
And I did that because the radio communications are recorded, because I knew it was coming. And they said, no, proceed on to your original call. So what I did was I had my back end man get out with some equipment and I left him at the scene, and I proceeded on to the regular accident. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, it wasn't but a month later, and guess what? I'm being drug into internal affairs. The city's being sued, and we're being sued because I caused an accident at the intersection, and all the world's coming to the end. So I told the
and drove off and left the guy there.
Go pull the audio recording. I said, because he wrecked in front of me. He didn't wreck with me in the intersection. He wrecked in front of me. Mm-hmm. and that, guess what? The case was over. But it all doesn't work like that. But everybody is looking for an angle, and that's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Yeah, there's zero difference between us on that. And but when you were telling that story in my head, I'm just seeing you sitting there driving the ambulance, watching the guy roll through the intersection and then stomping on the gas and leaving.
No. Hey, I can do you one better than that. There was another time I was going to be sued. This guy shows up on a Saturday night to the fire station, right? He's having heart troubles, and he wants to go to LSU. All right. So get him in the back of the ambulance. I knew he was lying. I put the EKG on him. I mean, he's got a normal sinus rhythm, right? Heart's ticking along perfect. Blood pressure's fine. There ain't nothing. But he knows that that's kind of like an automatic transport to the hospital, right? Mm. So I take his shoes off, look at his toes, to look at his toenails to check for circulation. Just make sure he's getting circulation down to his feet, right? When I take his shoes off, you know what I notice? I mean, this was a manly man.
Right.
he's got nail polish on his toenails. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
He had pink nail polish on his toenails. And I mean, look, I'm not being judging, you know. I mean, but I'm telling you a story here. I swear to you on the Bible that this happened. So I knew he was full of it. I knew he was
Right.
full of it. And I said, man, I said, look, I said, I know you ain't really wanting to go to the hospital. I said, I know you're just looking for a ride to get over there by LSU. I said, just
Mhm.
save me the trouble of having to do this paperwork and just tell me where you want to go, and I'll just take you over there. And we won't even have to go into the emergency room. We'll just take you down. It will save you time and me time. Just where do you want to go? Well, I actually want to go about a block down, and that'd be good. That sounds good to me. And I was like, all right, get out of my ambulance. Wait, what? I was like, get out. I'm refusing service.
Wow. Early Uber service. How did we know that we could that's a new one on me. Instead of calling Uber, I should just go try to get an ambulance ride. All right. So
Why not? Why not?
so Miss
Did I call
John
somebody
Glover
sissy?
so the
Somebody said I
pink
called somebody
toenails.
sissy.
Miss John Glover says, "Is this the right show?" We really don't know what show this is, Miss Glover. I mean, we've got the Bossier Watch logo and all that, but as usual, it's amateur hour. To be honest, it's been a very slow last week or two. I've been focused on fishing. I know you've been focused on trucks and doing other stuff, and the politics has been a little slow, so who knows what the show is tonight. But I think we're going to review the city council meeting. Do you want to try to stomach through that?
Well, look, I will tell you that the Swepco guy. Let's see. Wait a minute. I can't even remember his name. See, that's how old I'm getting that I can't remember people's name. But I messaged him on Facebook to say, "Hey, you want to come on the show and talk about this power outage thing?" Michael Corbin.
Oh, you talking about the
And
one
it's the
in New
second time.
Orleans, or the one that was up here?
Well, that one too, and I don't care if there's any of you, left wing pro green energy lunatics. If y'all want to come on the show and tell me how all these solar panels and windmills are not contributing to these power outages, by all means, I would love to hear it. I'm dying to hear how this is helping the situation, because
Well, all
frankly,
right.
I think that has a lot to do with this.
So we were sent a message to with the I guess they did a rolling blackout type scenario down around, was it around New Orleans, Baton Rouge? Somebody correct me in the comments.
Oh yeah,
We
it was North Shore.
Okay. Now, apparently this was a different power grid consortium or whatever they call those things. It wasn't the SPP or whatever. I think we're at the southern tip of the spear, so to speak, with that group that SWEPCO belongs to. But anyway, and yeah, I was looking at some of the charts real quick before the show, and the solar and the wind are actually a relatively small part of the total power grid. Um, looks like the
What are
nuclear
you
and of
seeing?
course the coal fired and all that is pretty good. And
I don't
hey,
see him there.
I still want these personal home nuclear reactors for everybody. I won't have to order my battery backup system and bigger battery pack if I can get a home nuclear reactor. So, ah, I see. Whispering sweet
Um,
nothings in your ear.
well, she's reporting that she's only seeing you, not seeing me.
I can see you. Hold on. Hold on. Let me go double check. Technical difficulties.
Oh, okay. So I think what's going on is that's hung up in the original show before you hit end, and yeah, yeah, that's not live.
Tell Kara I hit the wrong button.
Rex was trying to burnish our amateur journalist resumes. He hit the wrong button and hit end show. So there may be a fake show out there. There is a fake Bossier Watch. You'll know it's fake because it's only Rex. It excludes me.
See, I was
Anyway,
trying to go.
okay, sorry.
I
Where
was
were
trying to
we?
go. I was trying to go on without you, and you know. All right. Okay. So.
I know.
Okay. Yep. All right. Cassie says she sees us. Val can see us. Ann can see us both. And Wes says the nuclear plant in St. Francisville shut itself down over the weekend due to an equipment failure. Fail safe. Well, those pesky nukes, but
Ah.
that whole 3 Mile Island thing. But I still want my home nuclear reactor. I'm going to keep saying that until we get them one of these days. All right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so the apparently the power issue, we're all over the map tonight. Apparently the power issue is still an ongoing debacle. Look, it's not even really the beginning of the summer, so I only see this as a problem that's going to get worse. They don't upgrade the grid that much. The power demands are getting more and more, and it is what it is. I will say
Yeah,
this:
well, I
during the
mean,
thunderstorm, my power only blinked the other night.
well, yeah, that's right. But I go back to our show where I don't historically recall us ever having as many problems with, loss of power as what we're having these days. I mean, we always used to hear about that being out on the left coast, but now it seems to be that it's a common occurrence here locally. And you know, SWEPCO was at the council meeting, and as I appreciate it, they made another meeting, but I wasn't able to watch that one. And Chris Smith was uh, basically uh, carrying the banner for oversight on SWEPCO because from my opinion, my viewpoint, I mean, he was pressing Michael Corbin the most on it and challenging him on the why things went the way that it went. And um, that's what it's about. And hat tip to him that you need to demand those questions and stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know that we really still do have an answer on why this happened in Bossier. It shouldn't have happened in Bossier.
As far as I know, I mean, we've all seen and of course, we did the transcribed version of the broadcast with Foster Campbell. They certainly didn't say why there. I mean, they kind of alluded to it, but they really didn't get down to the nuts and bolts. I think they over planned and under delivered. Um, I've seen no reasoning for this recent shutdown down south. Again, different power grid or different part of the grid. But they still haven't given us any definitive answers. Heck, maybe they don't know. I don't know. Who knows? All right. Speaking of that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over screens. And we'll just get on through this. All right. So this is last
Yeah,
week's city
Joey
council meeting.
Herman. Joey
Oh,
Herman says, "Nice sunny day, power out for 6 hours." Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. All right. I did just timestamp I think it's when Michael Corbin comes up. I didn't watch that part of the city council meeting, so I guess we'll get through it. Do we want to try to go through the apartment complex, or you want to hit the Corbin stuff first? Doesn't matter to me.
Since we're talking about it, I guess we can go ahead and hit the Corbin stuff.
All right. Well, let's. I'm going to hit play. Well, not right there. Well, okay. I thought that was correct. Hold on just a second. Again, amateur status. I thought that was correct. Let me search for it again. Okay. All right, here we go.
Carries.
Reports.
Michael Corbin, SWEPCO, concerning the April 26th emergency load shed event.
Michael, did you come up here without any security to Bossier? Well, actually, I'm just here to fill up a couple gallon jugs with water and take it back across the river, if that's okay.
Take some water back to Shreveport with you?
Michael Corbin, External Affairs Manager for SWEPCO in Louisiana. And it's always a pleasure to be in the chamber and get to visit with you. What I wanted to do today is just go over a little bit about the two events that happened in April, and then have a chance to answer any questions that you may have. I previously emailed you some background information on the events, some links to press conferences and things like that. So be thinking about your questions as I'm going through this. As an investor-owned utility, SWEPCO is required by federal law, by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, commonly known as FERC, to be a member of a regional transmission organization. We are a member of Southwest Power Pool based in Little Rock, Arkansas. They control the utility grid, 14 states, from the Canadian border to the southernmost area in Louisiana of SWEPCO's service area, which would be around the Leesville, DeRidder area. Their charge by FERC is to maintain the grid, maintain the balance in the grid, so there are no issues. They also do
they
what's
consider an
called
issue?
a day-ahead market. So as utilities, we bid in our generation facilities and what the cost per megawatt is of those facilities. And they make the decision that tomorrow, based on load predictions, weather forecast, number of other things, here's the generators we want running tomorrow. Be ready to run them, utilities. We also, as utilities, have to do maintenance on our generators and our transmission lines. So we schedule those outages with Southwest Power Pool well ahead. They approve them and work that into their model. So let's fast forward to April. April 2nd, we had the first emergency load shed event.
Load shed.
Weather was pretty nice here. There were storms going through Oklahoma, and a transmission line came down during those storms. SPP called, identified an area in SWEPCO's service area that included a large part of eastern Bossier and Houghton, and ordered us to immediately shed load, which is, we use the word unprecedented every time there's a storm. We don't take that order lightly, and this is only the third, this would be the second time in recent history that we've had to do a load shed event. Power was out. That impacted approximately 24,000 customers from 2:28 in the afternoon. The last customers came back on about 4:59 p.m. So with my Benton math,
Stop,
Yeah.
go
a
ahead and
little over
stop it.
two.
Yeah, because we all kind of know this part.
Wait a minute. Did he just say by Benton math? Was he slighting Benton people? Did he just say by Benton math?
Hey, he may have, I guess. Didn't even catch that. Yeah, he did. Hold on, let me back it up. Let's see.
So with my Benton math, that's a little over 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, he did.
On Saturday,
What's wrong with Benton? What's SWEPCO got against Benton?
Well, I mean, his math was better than some of the apartment complex folks' math, and I just want to point out while we're sitting here that these guys that you see sitting
Wait a
here,
minute. Wait a minute. Benton's power didn't go out.
yeah, that's right.
Benton's power didn't go out. So okay, now I know what he meant. Benton math. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
Benton math. I just want to point out that this is an hour into the city council meeting, and these guys are still waiting for their handout. And that, by the way, is Link Coleman. You know, Link Coleman that basically made the city council look like fools many years ago. They're waiting patiently for something, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting to hear if their apartment complexes and real estate property holdings will continue to have good, reliable power from SWEPCO in the grid.
Maybe they're looking for some Benton math too. I don't know. It sounds like it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
April 26th, beautiful blue sky day. We get a phone call that we have to shed 140 megawatts of load. No advance notice of that. No weather issues that we were aware of, but it ultimately impacted about 30,000 customers. Power went out at 3:29.
And still, I've got to point out, they haven't said why. Not that they can go back and change it, but we would all like to know why they had to shed the load, have the load shed event, that term that they keep mentioning.
The last customers came back on at 8:07 p.m. Very little information came in about this Saturday, April 26th event to us. It rolled in slow. We were unaware of what caused the issues until well into the event. When we began to get information, we began pushing information out to our customers via text and email for those who have gone into their account and linked an email or a mobile phone number and agreed to get alerts. We began to issue around 5:30 p.m. media releases. We updated our website, and then we were able to pass information on to you as things were occurring.
Again, they didn't, I mean, not that any of us are, geniuses in electricity and providing, power at the grid level, but I don't remember them saying anything except they had to shed load. That's all they've said. I mean, it's like they're trying to rhyme with shed road out there. I don't know. Did you hear an actual explanation? Ever?
Actually, I'm texting Michael Corbin right now on Facebook saying we are showing your comments at the Bossier City Council meeting now. And here's the link for you to address public questions.
Oh, yeah.
So
there we go.
So for all y'all watching, I mean, in real time, I mean, I'm giving them the opportunity. I mean, Chris Smith did a good job of hitting them with questions and stuff, but I mean, they should receive more straight questions. Is it because of all this green energy crap? That's what I want to know. Is that affecting things?
Well,
and the reason that he said.
Well, I was just going to point out that when you say the green energy crap, clarify that. And what I mean by that is, because look, I'm certainly no tree hugger, but hey, solar power is fine. Wind power is fine. You want to kill some eagles, that's great too, I guess, because that's what the windmills do. And then you have to have somewhere to bury those blasted things. But I'm not opposed to nuclear power. I'm not opposed to solar power. I'm not even opposed to the wind turbines and all that. But I don't think that they're the second coming of the, of the
I don't
new
consider
energy
nuclear.
thing.
Nuclear's not green. Nuclear's not green.
It is.
That's
If
like
it leaks
yellow.
out of there, you don't
That's bright
remember.
yellow.
No. It's green. You don't remember. What was that movie? Oh, Modern Problems with Chevy Chase. Back in the day, that was like a late 70s, early 80s movie. Modern Problems with Chevy Chase. Has anybody ever seen Modern Problems? It was green. The nuclear stuff is always green.
You're watching that goofy crap. I'm watching Tales of Chernobyl and stuff. I mean, it wasn't no green about it. Everything was dead.
Well, either way, what I mean by that is
well, green to me is those damn windmills spinning up there, chopping up all the birds, and the tree huggers ain't nowhere to be found for the birds. I mean, where's Greenpeace? They're
I want to
lost in the ocean or some crap.
Well,
you got all these solar panels, and the solar panels are getting beat up by the hailstorm, and that crap don't last. I mean,
all right, but here's what I want to know,
and so
here's what I want you to clarify.
Okay.
When we put the blame on the green energy, we're not saying that they're putting the solar farms online and that is, detracting power from the grid. We're saying it's not adding enough power to the grid to keep up with the increased demand, and that combined with the age of the grid and all that, it's not able to keep up where they should be investing in new coal plants, new natural gas plants, new nuclear plants, whatever,
Okay,
to be able to
okay,
keep up.
okay,
So
okay.
clarify for
I
us.
gotta stop you.
All right.
I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. Okay. How many people have been down Benton Road and you see the train running south on Benton Road and it's got all these damn cars that they just a ton of cars coming down. It looks like it's got all this dirt piled up in the back of it, right?
Right.
Well, you know where they're coming from? They're coming from Wyoming. That's where they're coming from, and Montana, and they're bringing coal from down there, and they're going to the power plant down there, like at Mansfield, and then they're going to
Well,
just north of
but
Alexandria to
hold
Dole
on.
Hills.
But
But let me
pause
let me
there.
say
Pause
this,
for
and
pause for a second.
okay,
Hold on. There's a
okay.
big. Do they not bring some of the coal down from Oklahoma? And then there's a big one up there by Paris, Texas, a big coal mine. I used to drive by the
Well, they
big
may be bringing
excavators
some
all the
from
time.
there, but
Okay. Just wanted to
well, that's not the
point that
point
out.
where it's coming
Okay.
from particularly, but I just know the big things coming from Wyoming and up there. That's the
Right.
biggest area. But the point is we're bringing all this coal, and that's why I want Corbin on, because this is what I believe is happening. This is what I believe is happening. Yeah, Paul Johnson, Dole Hills plant is closed. Yeah, because they're rolling back, burning, coal and all that crap. Hell, they were even burning tires down there, waste tires that were chewed up and ground up at one time. They're
Right.
burning waste tires in there to generate electricity. But I think through the federal regulation, they mandated that these companies have to have a certain percentage of their generated electricity by way of quote unquote green energy. Hence, these solar farms. That's why we've got a couple of them in Caddo Parish. So I'm thinking that the unreliability of the green energy thing, when you across all of these electrical things, when you have a failure, whether it be storms in Oklahoma or Texas or Louisiana or in Arkansas, and the demand is outpacing the supply, you're going to have more of these outlets. And let's just face it, a coal fired power plant, it don't matter if a freaking tornado's coming through there, that dude's going to still be ginning, and the nuclear as well. But the solar farm and the windmills, dude, no, them things are going to
We've
go down
all
like at the snap of a finger.
we've all seen the video of the tornado hitting the windmill and just shredding it. And that was pretty interesting. All right. So, and thank you for
And
clarifying
the
that,
solar
because
farm that got hail damage and all of that. I mean, the solar farms ain't no better.
right. So that's why I wanted you to clarify, because I know that, I'm not against solar. And like I said, I'm not against windmills either per se. I just, they're not going to be able to supply, I don't think, the demand that we're having, combined with the apparent refusal, and maybe Michael Corbin could correct me on this, of the power companies to update the grid, which means replacing power lines. I mean, you just make a drive through Bossier and you can see, I mean, heck, I can look down my street and some of these poles are, leaning. Some of the lines are not in good shape. I mean, it just looks like it's been here since, been here for a few decades. Anyway, I digress. So let's continue on with Corbin here for a second.
The only other time in recent memory there's been any load shed events for SWEPCO was a couple of years ago during Winter Storm Uri. We had advance notice of that. Southwest Power Pool began to post advisory.
One more pause. When did they start naming winter storms? I don't remember this a few decades ago, like they named the winter storms or the blizzards. Anyway.
As things were melting down in ERCOT in Texas and in some other areas of the country. Be aware this may be happening. That allowed us to put some notices out to let our customers know and more importantly, to put a plan together so that if we had to shed load, how could we have minimal impact and bring people off for a short period of time, rotate it around the Shreveport-Bossier area, which we did. So in that situation, over a 2-day period, where during the main part of the day when the load was highest, we had to do some load sheds. Nobody was out for more than about an hour and 20 minutes at a time, thankfully. The April 2nd event, the April 26th event, no prior warning, nothing was on anybody's radar, and we had no plan in place, no time to put a plan together to do this. So what's happened since? We invited SPP officials
He
to
still has not
join us
told us
Monday
what caused
for a
the
meeting.
situation.
And then
They
they
had
had a
no-
joint press conference with SWEPCO and Public Service Commissioner Foster Campbell the following Tuesday. That press conference lasted about an hour. Southwest Power Pool understands that SWEPCO is not happy, that our customers are not happy, that Public Service Commission is not happy. Tuesday of this week, Monday of this week, the Public Service Commission met in Lafayette, and Commissioner Campbell invited SPP officials there as well. A lot of the same conversation, but we can expect in July a report to come out from the Public Service Commission with recommendations of possible changes, looking at all the events that occurred, what their recommendations may be.
Do you know, Duke? I didn't dig into this. What power and authority does the Public Service Commission have? Can they fine SWEPCO or fine the SPP?
Oh yeah, they can do all of that. They they regulate the power and all that stuff, but look, I got another question. I mean, you know how much power you need. I mean, why are we not like Bossier and we have a surplus of water, so much of a surplus that we can build a damn huge ass line to supply the port and Barksdale and everybody else? I mean, what happened to us having a surplus of electricity? I mean,
that
if
takes
you
a
know you have
lot
this
of money.
much or you need this much,
Takes a lot of
I
money to
think
build
they
the
got
infrastructure.
a lot of money.
I know they got a lot of
But
our money,
I think
everybody's money.
Wes and Cassie and them are, I think, making a good point somewhere up in the comments, talking about it's the color green because going to this green energy is green money from the government to do it, and so they don't care about all that excess or what have you.
Maybe. May very well have a valid point. Rather than the money flowing, well, I don't know. I'm torn between, because SWEPCO is, they're making money. They've got margins. And look, businesses have a right to make money, blah, blah, blah. I'm a capitalist too. But it just seems to me like this is as screwed up as the insurance situation is. Because, and there's nothing that us common folks can do about it except for bitch and raise hell about it and, do a podcast on Tuesday nights and talk about it and try to solve everything from our armchair quarterback situations. But again, I'm going back to, he still hasn't said what actually caused it. Why did they have a sudden event that they just couldn't plan for, and the SPP called them and said, hey, you got to push the power out button? Why? What the heck went on? They alluded to it in that meeting with Foster Campbell, that they had planned on some kind of repairs and upgrades, but they didn't expect it to be as warm as it was, which caused high demand, blah, 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 blah. What, did you guys take some stuff offline? And that caused a dip in the ability to be able to supply the power out while the demand happened to increase, even though it wasn't a storm event? What actually happened, Michael?
WEPCO has made recommendations.
Maybe Vince could tell us.
Do you want me to show that? picture.
Maybe Vince could tell us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just somebody sent me a picture and said, y'all want the answers to this, you need to lean on Vince because, conservative Republican, he's got the connections to be able to
All
handle up
right.
on this.
All right, hold on. So y'all may be wondering what the heck Vince Maggio has to do with. Let me do a little doctoring of that picture just a second. You may wonder what Vince Maggio has to do with this.
I mean, did you hear
While we're
Vince not
talking
going at it about? Did you not hear Vince going on and on about the SWEPCO stuff here at this council meeting when they started talking?
Well, he
I
was
mean,
right in
I
the middle
didn't.
of all the apartment complex people. He wasn't doing the talking, but his
Nobody
name was
else could.
mentioned about 40 times. All right, hold
Nobody
on.
could get a word in edgewise, from what I could see.
Let's see. Let's get billboard lawyer Seaball off of there, and let's let's pull Vince up. Oh, look, is that a Foster Campbell sign down there? I thought Vince was
No,
a
yeah, I
devout
mean,
Republican, and Foster, as best I remember, is a
well,
Democrat.
I mean, Vince is a Mike Johnson conservative Republican. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know this ain't party politics, right? I mean, because everybody's electricity went out. So, but you would think we would have had some answers there, and maybe, that councilman would have weighed into the debate as close as he is with the public service commissioner there. I mean,
Well,
maybe he would have debated a little bit with Corbin, but no, it had to be, Chris Smith doing all the work and heavy lifting.
all right.
I'm just,
Let's get on and see what happens.
Southwest Power Pool revamp their model that they use and not have it right at the edge. We understand the importance of saving customers as much money as possible, but there's got to be some reserve power out there if the temperature goes up a few degrees or predicted rain doesn't come in. And that's exactly what happened in part of the service area on the 26th. So I will stop it right there because I know you've heard a lot of this already via email or if you've watched any of the other coverage, and just answer any questions that you may have.
All right, here we go. Fire away.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, if you don't mind, under federal guidelines, what is the maximum time that y'all can, when you're doing a load shed, that y'all can have somebody, is it an hour and a half before y'all have to start moving that shed around?
There is no guideline, and it's for a variety of reasons. In this particular instance, on April 26th, it was a voltage issue on the east side of our service area. And because of that, Houghton, East Bossier, and the port of Caddo Bossier went offline. That's where the load was, that's where the voltage issues were. Had we defied that order, then we
so it was the
strongly
port's
believe,
fault.
as does Southwest
Those
Power Pool,
pesky port
that
guys,
it would
that
have created a cascading effect.
darn Eric
and
England strikes again.
substations would have begun to shut down. Transmission lines may have begun to melt down, and it would have been a much larger outage that lasted for days or weeks instead of just a few hours.
One other, I know Councilman Smith has got some questions too. Can we expect this again this summer? I mean, it's already 93 degrees outside today.
We don't see an indication of it. I mean,
But I got to point out, he didn't see any indication of the one when they had to shut everybody down either. He didn't see that one coming. He just said that.
yeah, that's right. We can count on y'all to give us a heads up. Yeah.
Of course, in Corbin's defense, and I don't know him from Adam, I mean, what was he going to say? Yes, Mr. Hammonds, we actually expect rolling blackouts to be a regularly occurring event all into the summer. It's going to be really hot this year, so y'all are going to do without your power. We can't predict it. We don't know when they're coming. We're just going to shut you off. Is that what he was going to say?
Look, I'm with Joey Herman here. I mean, I'm seeing people saying or somewhere that it has something to do with Arkansas, and then because I heard Oklahoma too at some point. I mean,
Right.
so far we know it's Oklahoma, it's Arkansas, it's the port. I mean, it's everybody's fault but SWEPCO. Everybody.
Yeah. Not
Just
their
and they had no way of knowing. But I'm telling you, I think at some point I hear that they ended up knowing, and maybe it's during Christmas questioning, but they knew that it was coming. I
Hmm.
want to say
Well,
he
all right.
acknowledged that they knew that it was coming.
So Sadow put up a pretty good comment. He says, Rex, the reason is their modeling has much less room for error now that they rely on 21% of their power from non-dispatchable sources. Their forecast was too much in error given the smaller margin of error caused by increased reliance on renewable sources. Huh. I would like to point out
See, that's smart person talk for green energy. That's what that
it
is.
is.
I can tell you.
But I want to
That's
say,
educated person talk
look,
for green energy.
coal and oil are technically renewable too. They just take a lot more time to produce. Anyway, all right, but I digress. All right, all joking aside, let's see if he's going to dazzle us with more brilliance or baffle us with even more BS. Here we go.
If you look at social media, and I know we all do, because as a recovering elected official, I understand, we have to look at that and read all that. There's a misconception out there that SWEPCO did not have enough generation to meet the load, and that's not the case at all. We had some generators that were down for service and maintenance, which had been approved 6 months prior by Southwest Power Pool. We had a transmission line that was out of service, again, pre-approved some 6 months ago. SPP simply got their forecast wrong. It was hotter than forecasted. It did not rain where they thought it was going to rain, and they cut it too close on generation. So all that to say, we believe we're in good shape moving forward. We believe that SPP will pay very close attention to this, moving forward, and we don't see that this is going to be a regular thing at all.
I mean, we just, I mean, as you can imagine, I mean, you sat on Shreveport Council, so I mean,
I'm listening.
you know right where.
Well,
Spit
I
it
gotta
out.
say this, and look, I don't want to beat up. I don't want to beat up on our leftist, Democrat watchers of this show, but if my memory serves me correctly, we haven't been building new power plants. In fact, we've been limiting them, shutting them down, rolling them back, and through federal regulation, we've been limiting the abilities to create new energy, but only allowing it by way of green energy crap. If my memory serves me correctly, so here we are now. We're having all these problems, and I'm just wondering if anybody out there on the left wants to say, do they still stand by that we don't need any more power plants, that we need to put more windmills and solar farms up to solve the
Well,
problem?
Well, maybe we should invest in getting more prepared for events like was it 2 years ago, Cassie? I forget. Last year before last, when we were out for 7 or 8 days. I mean, who can forget that event? I mean, Gina and I had to drive to South Shreveport to go find gas, a gas pump that was working and had gasoline. And I've got a small generator, so we weren't completely without power. We didn't lose any food. I kept the freezers running and all that, but it's getting to the point where we pay what we think is a ridiculous amount of money with our electric bill, but we can't depend on the electric company. Maybe can somebody answer me this, Mr. Sadow? You're in the comments. Is Texas better off with their grid being or mostly deregulated versus here where basically we have controlled monopolies? Is Texas better off than Louisiana as far as the grid goes? Can anybody answer me that? All right, here we go.
Sitting when that happened.
Right.
I was out of town when that happened, but don't think my phone didn't ring. We had a lot of unhappy people, from casinos to homeowners, people stuck in elevators at casinos. I would just hope that from here on out that this never happens again. because I know you can't predict that it'll never happen again. Y'all have powers that you can't control just like we do. But I would hope that SWEPCO, working with everyone, that this will not happen again.
I think there will be continued.
Before he answers this, Duke, what is the procedure when the power goes out for the people that are stuck in the elevators from a fireman's EMS point of view? I mean, were they just stuck in there for 6 hours, or do you know what the protocol and procedure is if you're in the elevator and the power goes out?
No. I mean, we would go. I mean, we'd get people out. You put a ladder in there sometimes or what have you. But yeah. I mean, like that's a normal thing. You're not trapped in the elevator forever. No.
Okay, just want to
Now,
make sure.
in some places, some rural cities that maybe like have a elevator in like their one elevator in their town, their fire department may not necessarily be trained in dealing with an elevator rescue, but Bossier's pretty good about that.
Okay, all right,
Shreveport
here
as well. Shreveport's got a ton of elevators.
all right.
Go ahead.
Discussions on it for sure. Much like the Father's Day tornadoes that came through, I guess, 2 years ago now, it highlights the need for backup generation at certain critical facilities so that we don't get people stuck in elevators and we don't jeopardize those who need our help most. And so I'm sure that some of those conversations will happen again. I got a number of phone calls as well. And, people said, well, why don't you just turn on another generator? For us to turn on a natural gas plant, it's not flipping the switch. It takes 14 to 24 hours to bring a cold plant back up where it can start generating power. On the 26th, there was probably a lot of wind power being used. I don't know what impact that may or may not have had, but what we talk about with our congressional delegation, every time we're in DC, dispatchable generation is what we need more of. And I think that current administration hears that message, and you'll see some announcements about that soon.
Well,
as
I'm
well.
actually glad to hear.
Well, one more, would
that.
that be, I know it's going through in Baton Rouge right now. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's made it out of committee or what, on the nuclear power plant. What would that do for y'all?
Wait a
That would be
minute.
in that
Wait a
dispatchable
minute.
generation,
Stop. You got to stop it. You got to stop it. Okay. So I had somebody, I'm not going to say who, but I had somebody in, we'll just say government,
Mhm.
said to me within the last week or so, says, y'all really need to stop talking about nuclear. Y'all need to stop talking about that because,
Why?
that could make it up to DC and, that could kind of quash, us being able to get possibly something here if y'all keep talking about that.
Whoa,
That-
whoa. Somebody was actually
that
saying
could,
that we have that much impact. I don't think so. Magic Mike does not
no,
listen to us at
don't
all.
know. I don't think they were trying to burnish our ego. I don't think that was the point of it. But what they were trying to say, and I get it, that the DOD and people they talk about what's going on social media, what are people are talking about, and they try to be sneaky and stuff like that. I get that, and I respect that. And the way it was presented to me, I got to tell you, I somewhat agreed with it. I wasn't planning. I had no intentions of really kind of talking about it anymore. But here we got an open freaking council meeting and we got councilmen talking about it out in the public. So, but yet I'm not supposed to talk about it on a social media show.
Well, it's your crazy show. So
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to beat up on myself. I refuse to do that. Go ahead.
wait, one more. This is a squirrel moment, but not really. So, what part of the damn agenda was this? Shouldn't he have been under the ceremonial matters? Were they talking about anything in the agenda? Did I miss something here? Sadow or Cassie, y'all were there. What the hell part of the agenda was him getting up and talking? And he's been
I
well over
don't
3
know.
minutes.
Well,
I-
yeah, well over it. Well, this was after the the front row boys trying to get their
They're patiently waiting for their
bills
handout.
reduced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're patiently
I mean, they'd
waiting.
already spoke.
Yeah, well, it was
Came
supposed
up
to be.
there afterwards. I mean,
Yeah, but all right, I digress. Let's trudge through this. Here we go.
And small nuclear is nothing like the 3 Mile Islands that some of us remember. It's a much smaller, compact unit, much safer. That is the future for all electric utilities. I think that we will continue to see coal plants retired. For us in Louisiana, certainly natural gas is a big part of what we do. Natural gas burns clean, so that's a good thing. But when all the technology's in place, I believe we'll see a lot more nuclear.
Thank you, Michael.
Appreciate it.
I have a few questions, Mr. President. And as a former city councilman, you know exactly what it's like. I mean, we have no real oversight of SWEPCO.
Right.
But we're a partner with SWEPCO. We serve the same constituents. But when this happens, we're the easiest local elected officials to get a hold of, so they call us first. How many
They're a partner with SWEPCO.
generation facilities went down at one time for the scheduled maintenance?
We had one generating facility that was 100% down and one that had one of the generators down. Again, that had been pre-approved 6 months ago.
In November,
Yeah,
correct?
and again, this was not a SWEPCO issue. This was power that was coming in on transmission lines for the SWEPCO area, which it's difficult to understand. And our SWEPCO president, Brett Madison, likes to use the example, if you use your body, your heart is the generator, and transmission lines are the arteries, and the capillaries and other veins that are coming are what you see out in the neighborhoods, the distribution lines. And if those arteries are cut off or jeopardized, everything else shuts down. And that's really what happened in both of these events for us.
So SWEPCO has natural gas generation facilities, and you also have, don't you have basically 18-wheeler size portable generators that you can hook up to a substation? Why were, when SPP approved your maintenance in November for April, why was there not a plan to use natural gas generation back then? Because I get it takes 24 hours, but if we would have planned for it in November, that wouldn't have been an issue. So why did we leave that step out?
There is portable generation that can be taken to a substation. It would have taken longer to transport that and get that where it needed to be than what the outage actually lasted.
But if we would have said in November, we're going to take this generation facility down and work
there
on
you
these
go.
transmission lines, so we're going to supplement
Yep.
with portable, and that plan was already in place, time wouldn't have mattered because it would have already been there. I mean, is it not normal to be extra prepared?
Utilities routinely take generation facilities offline. Somebody dropped the crystal ball in Little Rock this time, and they didn't see what was coming. I mean, we would not put a portable power plant in place anticipating this to happen because we wouldn't know where it was going to happen, and our generators that were offline had little or nothing to do with where the issues occurred in the grid.
So, and on that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the difference in degrees that they forecasted was 6 degrees. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like a lot. SWEPCO maintains that that's an astronomical amount of difference. What are we doing to have better forecasting models? Is that SPP? Is that SWEPCO?
Right, and again,
So wait a minute. Now, most weathermen will tell you when you try to forecast anything more than a few days to a week out, It's a crapshoot. Now, yeah, they can look at some of the temperature trends that are coming up
Well,
and all that, but
he said Little Rock broke their crystal ball, so we got our answer right there.
oh, that's that. I stand corrected. There's the reason they dropped the crystal ball. They should have picked up the Magic 8 Ball and shook that instead of having a crystal ball.
I mean, they broke the crystal ball. I mean, that's all I needed to hear. I mean, it's like the Barksdale bubble, right?
Yeah, they're great. The inmates are running the asylum. Here we go.
We're talking about the larger grid. We're talking about 14 states, not just SWEPCO's grid.
Right.
SWEPCO just felt the impact of this.
And so you said a minute ago that this was only the second time. The first time was the winter storm a couple years ago.
Right.
And then SPP stated yesterday at the Public Service Commission meeting that they know of no time in history where one utility went down twice in a month. But now SWEPCO's achieved that. And what I'm hearing from representatives from SWEPCO, and I'm hearing from representatives of SPP, is SPP saying it's SWEPCO's fault, SWEPCO saying it's SPP's fault, and the only person that's stuck in all of this is the ratepayer, and they're the ones sitting in the heat or in the cold. They're the ones that are suffering. They're the ones that are paying their electric bill, and they're the ones in the middle of this.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
He said, she said, it's their fault, it's not their fault,
I'm not aware of anyone at SPP saying that SWEPCO had any fault in this. I think they have been very upfront.
Well, they said yesterday
with
that
taking this.
SPP said yesterday that this is a local issue and that SWEPCO needs more infrastructure. So that sounds to me that SPP is trying to pass the ball.
I believe what he was trying to convey when he said that was that all electric utilities are in a bit of a crunch and need to look at infrastructure, look at additional generation
But
as
we've been
additional
saying
load
that for decades.
comes soon. I don't believe he intended to call out SWEPCO on that.
Okay. Because like Bossier City, we run a utility, and we have main breaks, but then when that happens, we are able to get the water right back on, make the repair. Our customers are not out of water for extended amounts of time, and if they are, they're quickly notified. I think another issue that Bossier City citizens are having is that the power went off a little after 3, and they didn't know till 5:45. And SPP said yesterday that when they forecast these blackouts,
Looks
or
like I
the
need to go
politically
find
correct
that
term, load shedding events, that they try to communicate internally when they know one is imminent. What's their version of imminent? Because 2.5 hours after an event and nobody knows what's going on, that's not adequate communication.
Certainly, and I'd mentioned the winter storm a couple years ago. If you look at SPP's website, they have advisories, and it's basically what's the state of the grid. And as things begin to melt down during the winter storm, they kept going to different advisory levels. And certainly they're in contact with us as this is going on. And so that allowed us to, put some plans together to get some communication. We were able to go to the media in that event prior to the event happening and saying, we believe this may be coming, here's what we're going to do. Both the April 2nd and the April 26th event, there was no pre-advisory. There was a phone call, shed power now.
And on the first blackout, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how Northwest Louisiana had to shed power because of a storm in Oklahoma. Now,
Right.
John Smith
They
that
go to
lives at
Oklahoma and
123
shed
Main
their
Street
power.
in Bossier City, they're not understanding that. I'm not understanding it either, how a storm in Oklahoma is affecting power here.
Well, you have to look at the 14-state grid, and it's all interconnected. And I don't know where the majority of power was coming from on April 2nd, but there is a chance that there was a lot of electrons going through that transmission line from either wind farms in western Oklahoma.
There you go, dude.
What?
Or there could have been a generator
What?
owned
Key-
in
key
our
word.
sister company in Tulsa that was providing power that day. That's where SPP dictated that the power come from. And when that line went down, then that created imbalance. And until switching could be done and move those electrons to other lines, then that created the load shed event here.
And then, of course, SWEPCO does preventative maintenance every year, correct? Yeah, and you've only had 3 mandatory blackouts in your history. So
I just got a text message.
what are we
with a
doing
link
to
the
prevent this
public
from
service.
ever happening again? Are we in, because rates have gone up on the consumer. Is SWEPCO investing money into having a sustainable power grid
Thank
here
you,
locally in
Mr.
Northwest
Text
Louisiana?
Messengers.
Certainly. And we go to the Public Service Commission and ask for additional funding all the time. We are doing a huge
right.
pole replacement program
Is there
right now.
anything
in-
else of any I mean, I appreciate Chris's line of questioning because he's spot on, but I'm not hearing anything except,
Oh, he's
well, it wasn't us, it was SPP. No, SPP didn't mean to blame us. It's really them. That's literally all I'm hearing.
well. I mean, you basically heard Oklahoma. You heard a crystal ball in Arkansas. I mean, you heard every. I mean, I still don't know exactly what it was. But I did hear windmills.
Yeah. Windmills, blame the Oklahomans.
kinda- Yep, it's the Oklahoma people's fault, but you know what? It shouldn't be that our outcomes are tied to windmills in western Oklahoma. That's bull crap. I'm just saying.
Well,
And he said they were going to be having maintenance. It was approved ahead of time. You should have been prepared. If we were going to be the ones having maintenance and we were going to have to be getting supply from somewhere else, you should have been being prepared for that. Like what Chris was saying, you should have had generators sitting down here in the event that there was potentially a load shed. You should be prepared. I mean, hell, I was in the Boy Scouts. What's the Scout motto? Be prepared. It's not rocket science.
well, they weren't prepared. They dropped the crystal ball. It's Little Rock's fault. No, it's SWEPCO's fault. Whang, whang, whang. And then the power's been out on 2 separate events. And look, full disclosure, this most recent event, my power didn't go out. Duke, I think yours was still on. I think Benton was fine. So, in full disclosure, it's not like our power went out, but I can just say it's anecdotal evidence that it seems like in the past, we've had the power go out more in the last couple of years than I remember in the last couple of decades. That's all I'm saying.
Well, look, Chris Smith, Chris went on to make a point in there that was pretty important. And that point was to point out that SWEPCO has a monopoly. There's no
Yeah.
competition here.
They're a legal
with it.
monopoly, yes.
So yeah, they're a legal monopoly, and I mean I think that is a valid point to make. I mean you've got competition on everything else, but you have no competition. If they're not going to have any competition, they need to be being prepared. They need to be prepared. I mean,
agree. Look,
you don't expect substandard service if you're going to have no competition.
yeah,
that
the only
don't fly.
competition they have is the fact that, you know, folks can go buy a generator. I've got a neighbor down the street that I don't know how much of his house he runs off of solar, but he's got some solar panels down there, and I'm sure a battery system and all that. I've considered doing it. That way I'm not dependent on them. I've got a couple of generators set up now, so if the power goes out, we'll be able to stay cool, keep our refrigerators going and all that. But it's just ridiculous that, you know, the electric bill seems to be ever increasing, although not as much as the insurance bill. And yet we have less reliable power. And I just go back to, I don't know what the solution is, but I go back to, y'all need, as in SWEPCO and the other power providers, need to be upgrading infrastructure and doing everything you can to get better prepared for these events. Just we weren't prepared and dropped a crystal ball was not an acceptable answer to me. And look, it's not
Joey,
like it's not like we had to pay for any power we didn't use, and you know, a lot of folks got their feathers ruffled at that comment that he made, but it's true. You pay on demand. You're not paying for the you know, for the service by day or by the hour. It's on demand, just like your water bill. You know, you don't use that much. You don't use any water. Well, you don't get billed for it except the, you know, monthly service fee or whatever. But with the electric company, you're not paying for kilowatts you don't use, and that's not an acceptable answer either. But I don't know. I don't have a solution for that any more than I do the dadgum insurance debacle. Power, insurance, what's next? The internet? The internet's still going. We have Elon.
I mean, I was like, well, look, well, look. I mean, the apartment complex owners are being unfairly, you know, made to pay excessive, you know, water and sewer bills in Bossier, and they're hurting.
Who
Rex.
knew?
They're
I
hurting.
know. Look, I'm. If you want to, we can go through each and every one of them. We can summarize this in about 2 minutes. Wah, 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 wah. Now, I understand they have a point that the sanitation rates and all that have been increased, but hey, where were you apartment complex managers when we were discussing it on this show at the city council meetings y'all didn't attend? I mean, you can't bitch about that. So instead of putting your hands out, why don't you put your hands back in your pockets and start paying attention to the city council meetings and the agendas and what's going on? All right. So with that said,
I was going to say how close a relationship I noted that most of those guys had with Vince Maggio.
oh, it was a Vince show.
I'm just saying that it sure was a large contingent of Vince Maggio people among those apartment owners. Now I know Link Coleman's not in the middle of that, and I know Mr. Brown's not in that, but the other ones, that might as well have been Vince Maggio standing out there on the other side of this deal.
Well, I just want to refresh my memory.
I mean, I'm
refresh my
how
memory.
those conversations went.
Didn't Vince and the rest of the city council that were there, didn't Vince vote for the rate increase?
I think he did, and I have not went back and I've actually thought about that. I wanted to know whether he did or he didn't. I think he did, but I don't know 100% know for sure.
So now why are they trying to make him out to be the hero in this?
Well, I mean, you want to have your cake and eat it too. I mean, I get it.
As
but,
their
I
city
mean,
councilman, shouldn't he have proactively reached out to these guys? I mean, you're sitting there with Link Coleman. Shouldn't he have proactively reached out and said, hey, this is coming down the pike. Y'all better be aware of this. You know, make your feelings known. Show up to the meeting.
But Link, that all the councilmen are like, oh no, you can't talk to Link Coleman. You got to stay away from him. He's the devil. Oh, ooh, the boogeyman. Y'all can't talk to him. So I'm just curious how the hell Link Coleman ended up here in the mix and all this anyway. That is what is perplexing to me.
Well, he was definitely there. As a matter of fact, let's listen to Link. I take that back. Let's go ahead and listen. Let's give Link his due time at the mic here.
My name is Link Coleman, the UL Coleman Companies, 207 Milam Street, Shreveport. I'd like to first let me say that you know, none of us as apartment owners are out for a free ride. We're simply asking that we pay the equitable share. And I think, you know, in defense of the city council, I don't think everyone had the opportunity to look at all the numbers and all the.
Whoa, Link. You're wrong. David Montgomery. He is literally on the city council. He is also, I think, Isn't he some financial guru he's told us about before? He knows numbers. He knows the math.
Oh yeah, he'd been to
Oh,
school for all that. Remember?
yeah.
Remember
So you're
he's pointed that out several times.
hate to tell you, Link, but you're wrong. They have had the opportunity to crunch the numbers, and crunch the numbers they did. But you guys didn't pay attention to the meetings. All right, here we go.
Of all the fees, and I want to say thank you, first of all, I should have said, to the mayor and the city council for hearing us today. So I appreciate that very much. One of the things that we'd like to look at and the
Is
information
that Aaron
that
McCarty
you
in the
provide, and I
background?
won't, because I know I'm limited to 3 minutes,
think
is
so.
the total amount of fees that are generated by these fees, and they look like they'll be over $10 million, could be approaching even 11 or 12 or even $15 million. If you look at all the costs that are being generated, our understanding is the city was trying to raise $4.3 million, and that's information that came from Ms. Nottingham. So we, as most of the apartments provide their own separate waste management and disposal, they have separate dumpsters, so that's a non-issue for the city. The results, as have been stated by other people, is that, some of the numbers that I've heard is that as much as a 14,000% increase, of fees for the city of, for these sanitation fees versus what we've been paying. So obviously that's not a sustainable number by any means. The impact on
So I
this,
want to pause
most of
for a
our
second
residents.
there. So correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I've been focused on fishing for about the past week and a half, not really on this debacle. And I did go back and crunch some of the numbers, and some of the numbers that I think Ty Alley was touting would actually be a 14,000% increase, unlike some of the other numbers the other guys touted, which we posted about, weren't. They were only an 1,100 or 1,400% increase, not 14,000. But I think Ty's numbers work out to about 14,000. But here's my question. So these sanitation fees, am I understanding this correctly, that in the past the city was billing the sanitation fees, let's say per building, apartment building, and if there were, say, 4 apartments per building, now they're going to be billing per residence or dwelling? Is that what they're doing? Am I understanding this correctly?
That's the way I appreciate it.
Okay, let us know in the comments, Sat Owl,
So,
or some of y'all
so
watching.
maybe somebody would have the question, how should it have been for all of these years? Should
All
it
right.
have been, rather than an apartment complex getting just one bill, or every tenant getting a bill?
So let me tell a quick story. I think I've told this one time before. My parents and my grandfather owned an apartment complex in Ruston. The original 14 buildings had 4 apartments per building. There was a washateria building with commercial washers, as well as a 36,000+ gallon swimming pool. All of that was on one meter, one City of Ruston water meter. That meter was broken for over a decade. And the water bill for the whole entire apartment complex, or those 14 buildings, the newer buildings later had individual meters, was never more than about $100, $125 a month. We had a full washateria down there, and 10 buildings at 40 apartments, plus the swimming pool, plus an in-ground sprinkler system. Well, my dad wrote a certified letter to the city, I don't know, every couple of months, every quarter, kept all those receipts, telling them that meter was broken, they needed to come fix the meter. Anyway, fast forward a decade later, they tried to build the apartment complex for a couple of $100,000, and they went tit for tat, so Dad ended up not having to pay it because he had kept all those letters. Is this similar to that, where it's basically 1 meter or 1 sanitation fee per building or dwelling that may have multiple apartments? And now they're trying to bill per unit.
Well, I just want everybody to consider something else that, yeah, that kind of speaks for itself. But you know what makes me wonder is who all these folks' insurance were with. You know,
I almost spit my tea out.
I would kind of probably believe that Link Coleman probably didn't have insurance with, you know, anybody on the Bossier City Council, but I wonder who had insurance, all the others had insurance with, and you know, just I, I just wonder where their insurance was. And you know, maybe they made a change recently. And
Man,
who knows?
very interesting.
Who knows? Maybe the you know, I mean, in politics, the thing is, you know, you trade something to get something. I mean, it's like Baton Rouge. You know, I know people who, when they finally discover that how you get things in Baton Rouge is you trade something. It's all, what are you going to give me if you want that? What are you going to give me for that?
Yeah,
And
not
you
what
know,
the
it's the
right
same
hand's
way.
doing.
And
Keep an eye on the left hand.
I'm just saying, you know, there's been some communications that say that, you know, some of these folks had interesting insurance. I don't know. Maybe they may not. I would love to know.
All right, so Cassie says she heard that day that it is per unit already, and that may be the case, Cassie, or maybe it's the case with some of them. But based on what I'm hearing from some of their testimony here, it's not necessarily per or wasn't per unit. But anyway, let's continue on with Link, because he has an interesting request for the city council on what he thinks they need to do immediately.
As you might imagine, are moderate to low-income residents. I mean, we have over, if you look at the demographics of apartments, approximately 60% of the residents in apartments are between 18 and 35. And there are people that are starting their careers. Some have student loans. So they're just not in a position to sustain these enormous fees.
$12 a month? Or are we talking $100 a month per apartment or per family or whatever? Are we talking $12? $12 is one Happy Meal. Well, maybe one Whataburger meal,
Well,
or one Burger King meal.
I got the solution. Reduce their rent.
Oh,
This ain't that hard. Just reduce
there you
their
go.
rent.
Yeah. All right. And folks, if it sounds like we're defending the city council, y'all don't act shocked and pass out in your chairs, because we're not defending the city council, but we're also not necessarily defending these guys. All right, here we go.
The recommendations that we have, one of the things that I'd like to say is on the EMS fees. I mean, our fees for our company alone, we have over 800 units. And there would be approximately $120,000 of fees by our company. We're already paying about $100,000 of EMS fees. And I don't think that, you know, just like these fees, I don't think the EMS fees had an opportunity. The city councils previously, that was in 2017, I don't think they had a total opportunity to review the mathematics and the impact of all of those and the disproportionate effect on apartments versus single-family owners.
Well, is he saying David can't do math? That's basically reading between the lines? Or was he saying Tommy can't do math? Or Vince can't do math? Which ones can't do the math?
Well, look, as I understand this, I mean, and I think you were trying to get at this earlier, and I'm just wondering what everybody in the comments, what do y'all think? So if these guys were paying, and their tenants in total were like $12 a month per complex, per the whole apartment complex. I mean, or, you know, that, or $36
or per
whatever
building,
it is,
or whatever it was, yeah.
per building, $36 a month. That's it. Now you at your house, you're paying $36 a month. But now this is per unit. Do you think that's wrong? Do you think that if you've got a apartment complex with 10 separate families in there, I mean, or let's say 12 families, so the same services that you're getting at your residential house, If you live in the apartment, it's only costing you $1 per family if there's 12 families. But you at your house, 36. I don't know. I mean, like Corbin said, I mean, I guess we're working with Benton math here.
Here we go.
That's an impact, and this
Is that right? Does people think that's right? I don't know. What do y'all in the comments? Do you think that these apartments should be, $36 per apartment complex total, and every residential house carries the rest of the burden?
And not
Is
just
that what,
that,
do y'all think that's appropriate?
not just that, one of them, and forgive me for not having it in the notes or whatever, but one of them said, we were shocked when we opened the bill and it went from, I'm pulling the numbers, but went from $1,000 to $40,000 or whatever it was. What do you mean you were shocked? Again, how come y'all weren't paying attention to what was going on at your own city council dealing with water, sewer, and sanitation rates, which affect y'all as property owners? I just don't understand that. All right, here we go.
compounds what was done in 2017 through the EMS fees. Our recommendation is to provide a 90-day pause. I believe this council has the ability to do that, to suspend the current fees for 90 days, give us a chance collectively, the city council, the city administration, all the stakeholders, including the apartment owners, the opportunity to work with the city and provide all the due diligence information you need to make an informed decision. And
all right, so what other due diligence does the city need that they're going to provide?
Well, I mean,
I
I,
wonder.
I think they want to know what the public thinks, whether the public thinks that they should be, if you live in an apartment, you should be able to get ambulance service at a cut rate, and, that
Volume
you shouldn't
discount.
be charged as much.
Volume
discount. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
I
The
think
city
that's what
council
they're
should
trying to
implement.
say.
Yeah, they should implement a discounting program. Kind of like the port. The port gets their water at a volume rate. Maybe the more you use EMS and the more you use the ambulance services, you should get a discount for that, right? Is that the way that works, Mr. Former EMT?
But I digress. Everybody's not just chiming in the comments of whether they think it's right or whether they think it's wrong. But I'm going to go out on a limb and think and say that I believe everybody believes that, it should be equal and fair. I mean, if you're a family living in an apartment, you shouldn't basically be getting the services for free versus a family living in a house having to pay, the more meat of the billing. I think people believe that. So your next question has to be, why has it been structured this way for all these years previous? Why has it been that way? How much benefit have people been? I mean, I hate to say taxpayer subsidized, but in essence, that's what it is. All of you in Green Acres and Stonehenge and Southgate Estates, Old Green Acres, Bel Air, all across the city, Shady Grove, y'all all have been subsidizing the apartments. That's what you've been doing. Now, do you think that's right? And why have you been doing that? Who are the councilmen that have allowed that to happen? Is that why the rate increases had to come? Is it because some people were getting benefits that others were not getting? Is that why there was a shortfall in the money in the account that the state mandated the increase? Is that why? That's the questions y'all need to be asking. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how sorry you should be feeling for these folks here.
Well, I'll spoil it. Spoiler alert. They sat there patiently waiting through that whole meeting. I guess they were waiting on somebody to add to the agenda an ordinance or a resolution to put a moratorium on it. But of course, that would have required unanimous consent by the council. And I'll just again, spoil it for everybody. They sat there for that whole meeting, listened to Michael Corbin, and didn't get their hand out. So, I don't know. We'll see. I want to, and again, have to apologize because I know Duke's been working. I've been focused on fishing and tech stuff. And so we hadn't been focused too much on the political stuff the last week and a half. It's been a little slow anyway. It usually is this time of the year. But I want to go back through the meetings and see when the council voted on this rate increase because I don't remember off the top of my head. Sadao, maybe you've got an article that you wrote on it. You can link us. I just don't remember when it was. So.
Yeah,
Alright.
I don't remember as well, but
I don't either. That's all I got tonight, Mr. Lowry. You got anything else you want to talk about? Any other
Well,
fun stuff?
you know, hey, I just dropped you something in the comments. You know, I was going up to the farm. I mean, a lot of people been asking me about crawfish this year. Well, I had an unfortunate event. I had a total loss on my crawfish ponds this year.
Oh,
Still don't know why. Working with the state aquaculturist, trying to figure out what happened or what the problem was. But it happens. You know, you have crop failures, and crawfish are no different. And we had that. But I was actually going up, and me and Alexis were going up here last couple of days, and had to slam on my brakes in the middle of the road
is
because I
that
had
that
an
video?
obstacle.
Okay, hold. Give me a minute.
Yeah,
Give me a minute.
had an obstacle in the
I
road.
can play the obstacle. So bear with me just a second, and don't reveal what it is yet, but just kind of set it up for about another 10 seconds, and I'll be able to do this.
Well, I will just say the obstacle was big, it was long, and it slithered. It
Here.
slithered on out of the way, and then it did a lot of hissing.
Here we go.
Oh well.
Oh, that looks like a lizard.
A big lizard with big teeth.
So
He was
I got to ask now, how many crawfish do you think the lizard's been eating? See, he would probably be. Don't the
I don't
coons eat a lot of crawfish?
Yeah, but I've been trapping the heck out of the coons and the otters, and I worked them over good this year. But you know, I didn't work none of the gators over. I mean, this one was, I don't know, he was 10 to 12 foot, and I'm pretty sure I saw this gator in my fields probably about a month or two ago. But nah, they're not doing the gators. They're mostly eating birds, turtles, and otters and pigs and all that stuff, and they're not really hitting the crawfish too much. But this guy was in there, and he was a big daddy.
Well, that
River's up, and so they're coming
Mhm.
out, and I wouldn't be surprised that some folks in Bossier City are going to start seeing a few.
problem. So that kind of makes me sad about the no crawfish because we got a couple of bags from you. I think it was last year, year before that. Anyway, they were great, big old crawfish.
Yeah, I mean, some years it's good, some years it's bad. I mean, and this is, I guess this was my year. You know, South Louisiana had a lot of bad year last year, and they had a little bit of a disease went through. Now, I had my crawfish tested; it wasn't any disease that ran through my fields. Had my water tested. I don't 100% know, but just it is what it is. Something happened, ghost in the machine. Don't know what it is, and total crop failure. Believe me, I hate it more than anybody.
Yeah. All right. So no calling Mr. Lowry for crawfish this year. Darn it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So look, folks, it may be, kind of slow the next week or two, few weeks. Again, it usually is between Memorial Day and July the 4th in this time period. Politics is usually a little slow. The insurance is still a debacle. That's going to be ongoing. We'll cover that as much as we can as it comes forward. So y'all just, be patient with us. Some weeks we may have longer shows, some weeks not. Some weeks we may hit the wrong button, kill the show, and then come back on and ramble. I don't know. You never know when you're watching. Bossier Watch on Tuesday night.
Yep, you never know. So we appreciate all of y'all coming and hanging in here with us, and we'll try to put something good together for next week, assuming the politicians keep playing right. I mean, look, no news is good news. I like it
That's
when
true.
politicians aren't screwing up.
That's true. All right. See you later, Mr. Lowry. Thanks everybody for watching. Y'all know the drill. If you have any information you want to send to us but don't want to reveal where it came from, Bossier Watch at Proton Mail. Go make your Proton Mail account on your own. Send us one. No identifying information. That's always a good way to send us information. Or just the old-fashioned way, text us, Facebook message, whatever. We will see you probably next week.
Good night.